Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Training, Learning, and Development Communities event, transitioning to L&D. Hope you're enjoying the event so far. I think the sessions yesterday and today have been absolutely fabulous. And we have another one for you this afternoon that I think is going to be great. I'm really excited, actually, to listen to Kim Scott's session today. I'm going to just read off a little bio that I have for Kim. Kim, do I call you Kim or Kimberly?
Prefer Kim, but I'm fine with either.
All right. Well, Kim Scott began her career in K through 12 as a social studies teacher. She moved into the role of an educational technologist where she facilitated system-wide technology training. And during her time in higher education, she strategically coordinated the integration of technology into college courses. As a current instructional designer, Kim successfully spearheads an international group of over 50 instructional designers and trainers in developing interactive courses. Kim also owns a learning and development consulting firm, K Scott Learning Consultants, KSLC. And KSLC offers customized services that range from LMS administration to instructional design and training to learning strategies and solutions. So, Kim, I'm going to go ahead and hide myself and let you take it away. Life after teaching, there's more to L&D and ID than ID. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Louise. This is a subject I'm very excited about, very passionate about. I actually transitioned from K through 12 teaching about 10 years ago. So this was pre-pandemic, pre a lot of resources and academies that were available to people. I've seen a lot of teachers reach out to me and say, Kim, I want out of the classroom. How did you leave the classroom? I want to do anything. And I'll say, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. And then some of them hear about instructional design. Ooh, what's that? And they think it's the only choice. Now, ID is a great choice. It is a great choice, but there's a lot more out there. And so my goal today is kind of to expose you to some of the other options. Now, in L&D, there are lots of options. So I can't possibly cover all of them today, but I want to cover some of the major roles and some of them that I've thought about that are strategic for teachers, that teachers may have qualities, skills, knowledge that are transferable and don't necessarily require them to do additional upskilling. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to jump right into it. So today we're going to talk about there's more to L&D than ID. Many of you already know about instructional design. In very simplistic terms, and of course it's more complicated than this, it's creating learning and training resources. This could be in K through 12, it could be in higher ed, it could be in corporate America, government, nonprofit. But there's a lot more that L&D has to offer than that. So today we're going to talk about some of those, from curriculum development to LMS administration and everything in between. We're going to talk about those roles that can utilize your skill sets within your next thriving career. So what are you going to get out of this session? We're going to talk about some of the other roles that may utilize your knowledge and skills, and talk about what skills may be needed in those positions. I do want to point out we're going to talk about roles and categories, but not specific titles. So for just the role of instructional designer, you may meet 20 instructional designers, and all 20 of them have different titles. They could be a senior learning content manager, a learning architect, technical learning analyst. That's a role that I've had. They can have a lot of different titles, and a lot of titles depend on the company. But essentially, all of them have the same role, instructional designer. So today, I'm going to talk about it at the role level, but at specific companies, you may see various titles. So that's why we'll just focus on the role. So a little bit about myself, apart from the introduction. I spent 8 years as a middle and high school teacher. I taught social studies, and my students thought social studies was boring. So what I had to do is I kind of had to liven up my teaching, my curricular, by using a lot of educational technology. I had to design a lot of my own resources. And in that way, I didn't realize I was in my early career as an educational technologist and also an instructional designer. Um, I also transitioned out of the classroom into an ed tech slash ID role. I did that in K through 12 for 2 years and in higher ed for 3. And for the last 4+ years, I've worked in corporate America as an international instructional designer. And for the last year and a half, I started my own business, or as I like to say, my business kind of started me, and I've run a learning and development firm. So it does a little bit of instructional design, but also much more. So let's hop into our first role. This is a role that I absolutely love, and people tend to ask me about the Learning Management System Administrator. So, what does an LMS administrator do? They're responsible for maintaining, developing an institutional learning management system. Now, learning management system is an online system for hosting courses. You may have heard of Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, SuccessFactors, Workday, Talent. These are all LMSs. And a very simplistic role of an LMS is just an online website where you can users can log on, they can take courses. These can be self-paced courses, they can be virtual instructor-led courses, similar to what you're attending today. And so an example is somebody who sets up courses in somewhere like Canvas, or somebody who might add functionality to something like Moodle to make sure all that the students or all of the employees within an organization can actually take courses. Now let's talk about the transferable skills. So what does a teacher already possess? A skill set that they may possess that may be helpful to them as an LMS administrator. Well, one is curriculum development. So in LMSs, an LMS admin may have many courses, and they may have to determine what's the best way to categorize those courses. If students must progress through a curriculum in order to graduate, or employees may need to progress through a curriculum to be certified, the LMS administrator would need to set that curriculum up. So being a teacher and having that skill set is really, really powerful. Also, course development. Well, a lot of teachers have to create their own resources. Now, I know a lot of people outside of teaching think that teachers just sit at a desk and they read out of a book and that's it. But someone like me who taught social studies, there weren't a lot of resources out there. And some of the resources just weren't that good. So I had to learn to create my own activities, create my own lesson plans, sometimes create my own assessments. These are pieces of the puzzle that put together course development. So those types of skills would help an LMS administrator know what activities would go into a course in an LMS. If you're that techie teacher, if you're that teacher, when I was teaching, I had teachers that would come to me and say, Miss Scott, how do you insert a picture in a PowerPoint? How do you attach things? How do you do this? If you're that tech savvy teacher, this is definitely a good one for you. Not saying you have to have a degree in IT or be super techie, but you will have to do problem solving, which is my next point. Sometimes being an LMS administrator is less about the task and more about you thinking strategically. You may have an instructional designer that comes to you and says, hey, we want employees to be able to do this within an LMS. We might want to start using gamification, badging. What's the best way to do that within an LMS? What's the best way for badging and certifications to work together? So teachers solve problems all day long. You solve student problems, you solve your own, sometimes you solve administrator problems. These are really great as an LMS administrator. So, how do you know if this is a good fit for you? If you enjoy things like problem solving, if you want to work with instructional designers, but maybe you don't want to be an instructional designer, you may not actually want to develop the courses, but work with people that do. If you like seeing how all courses work together, the big picture, working with online systems, this may be a good fit for you. Now we're going to jump into our next topic, another topic that I'm passionate about, educational technologists. Now, what do? They help faculty, staff learn to effectively use technology within the curriculum. On the faculty side, you may assist a teacher, let's say a science teacher, with using online labs or how to have their students make cartoon strips about the scientific process. On the staff side, you may help them utilize Google Sheets or Google Docs to aggregate assessment data, create a tutoring log. Now, ed tech is primarily in K through 12 or higher education. You won't see too many in corporate America. You will see ed tech companies, but usually educational technologies don't work in corporate America. So, some examples would be, and this is what I did at the K through 12 level, is working at the district level. I had multiple schools, and the schools had a different day, maybe each week, that I would go in and I would show teachers how to use clickers. How does it make their job more efficient, and how does it give them that assessment data to give back to their students faster? There may be district bought software, and the teachers have it but have no clue, like, how does this help me do my job? How does it impact student learning? You are that key that goes in and helps the teachers and even the administrators learn about the power of that software or hardware. In higher ed, you may work strategically with instructional designers as well as professors to help them understand what's in the LMS. What tools can we add to it? Besides the LMS, what all is available? Do we need a lecture capture system? So you can really recommend that the college purchase things, help them understand how to utilize it, and get more return on their investment. All right. So, what are some transferable skills for educational technologists? The number one is teaching experience. I tell teachers all the time they want to go into ID and they want to go to academies or they want to get master's degrees. Nothing wrong with that. But usually there is some amount of upskilling that needs to be done for a teacher coming straight out the classroom. I went straight from the classroom in May into an ed tech job in July when our new fiscal year began. No upskilling because I was already that techie teacher. And actually, the my teaching experience was looked at as a plus because I knew what the teachers were looking for. I knew what they needed to do differently. District level software, I was already utilizing it, and now I really had the time to focus on helping those teachers use it, even going into the classroom and showing it to their students. It involves a lot of creative problem solving. So looking at piece of software, piece of hardware, whatever the technology is, and seeing how can this music teacher use it? How can the writing students benefit from this technology? Of course, technology integration, standards correlation. We don't want to just talk about cool tech tools. That's all well and fine, but how does it help us align to the standards? How does it help us with end of course tests? Also, activity creation. So, how do you know if this is a good fit for you? Well, if you like to use technology in your classroom, if you're that teacher that's always keeping up to date on the newest tech tool, puzzle, videos, got your teachers, your students. In my day, it was in the computer lab, but now a lot of schools are now one to one. So if you've always got your students on their laptops or devices or iPads trying this new app with an activity, might be good for you. Also, if you're that teacher, as I said in my example, where other teachers are going to, or you're already always trying to tell them, don't give out worksheets, here's a better way to do that. This might be a good fit for you. All right, curriculum development. So, curriculum developers create curricula for organizations, including course outlines, order of courses, supporting activities. Now, in K through 12, you'll see a lot of curriculum developers. Some of them work at the district level. What does that look like in corporate America? Well, in corporate America, that they may actually hire curriculum developers who may help instructional designers or even LMS administrators outline the courses and in what order employees need to complete that. Some of the teacher skills that are useful as a curriculum developer, again, teacher experience, course development, activity creation, and aligning courses to standards. So in corporate America, that may look like aligning courses to best practices or even business goals, tying it to strategic business goals. So, in order to master this customer service objective, we need our customer service reps to take these courses. Here are some courses that are optional. Here are some courses that, if you want a level 2 certification, you take. So, very transferable to corporate America. This might be a good fit for you if you enjoy seeing the big picture. You like looking at it at a macro level, looking across all courses, and working with whole programs. So maybe you don't enjoy individual activity creation. You might want to outline the courses, and you might want to be that at that macro level that actually sets the tone and the template for which everyone else will follow. Training facilitation. Okay, what do training facilitators do? So, trainers facilitate in person or virtual led sessions, such as what I'm doing today. Teachers do this every single day. You stand up in front of a room of 25, 30, sometimes 40 different students, and you teach them content. A training facilitator stands up in front of a room of adults, students in an organization, and you train them a specific area of content. Okay. One fact that I'd like to clarify is you don't need to be a subject matter expert, because sometimes you have instructional designers who create the materials and you're just facilitating it. Now, you do want to be well versed in the material, but certain trainers have never been in the subject area. For instance, I've had to facilitate some sessions on safety and asbestos courses. I've never had to work with asbestos, but I did have a content subject matter expert that provided the material, and then I just outlined the session, the activities. Some examples include a leadership development trainer or a software systems trainer. You don't necessarily have to be a software developer to facilitate training on how to use the software. So, what are some of those transferable skills? Again, you're a teacher. You stand up in front of the room, in front of people every single day. So you're comfortable at the front of the room sharing knowledge, sharing examples. You're good at keeping learners' attention. Now, let me tell you a little secret. Keeping a room full of 6-year-olds, a room full of attention for 16-year-olds and 66-year-olds aren't always that different. So if you can keep a learner's attention, you can usually do that at any level. You can read the room. You can determine if learners are confused, if you need to break it down more, which takes me to my next point. You're good at adapting materials. You're good at figuring out, okay, this is a newer learner. This learner is more advanced. I may need to tweak the content or my facilitation to meet the needs of my learners. And of course, this is good for you if you like to help people learn something. You're always trying to show people something, break it down for them. You love seeing that light bulb go off in somebody's eyes, the aha moment. You like helping others and breaking down the content into good, sizable pieces. Training facilitator is good for you. Also, standing in the front of the room and leading someone in their quest for knowledge. All right, here's another one, technical writing. Technical writers analyze very complex information. So sometimes you see this in the science field with scientists, where they have very strong content that's known to people in that subject area. But you have business people, you have customers, you have others that need to understand that information. So you would work with those subject matter experts and help break that information down that's easier to understand. You also may work with people who are newer in that field to help them understand that. This might be, for example, someone who works at a law firm and breaks down contract law or their processes for working with clients. Somebody who may create a graphic organizer or a learner's workbook for people in the science field who are coming into those roles. Some of the transferable skills is you're very good at written communication. So I'm thinking those English teachers, maybe even the drama teachers who write a lot, this may be a good fit for you. If you're good at adapting content, okay, so you can read this uh, big, thick content or this content that's really complex and make it really, really simple. So, kind of explain it to me on a third grade level. If you're good at doing that, this may be a great fit for you. Okay. If you enjoy writing, you write in your free time, you journal, you prefer written communication, it might be a good fit for you. If you're good at breaking things down, also, it may be a good fit for you if you're good at collaborating with SMEs, because people in this industry, again, you're not expected to be the expert. You're just expected to break the expert's information down into sizable pieces. So if you're really good at working with SMEs, working with others, being the go-between between two groups, this may be a good fit for you. All right. Another one is learning project manager. So project managers are seen in all kind of fields. They're seen in the construction field, the IT field, all over. What's a learning project manager? Well, they help track the success of learning projects. So some of the things that they may do, they may manage a training budget. How much should we spend on software, hardware, professional development? Oh, when should these courses be implemented? You may also schedule training. I'm going to schedule trainer number A in room 123, and they're going to teach this course 4 times in a day. Okay. These are good examples of learning project managers. They usually do not create content. They usually don't actually facilitate. They just support the trainers, the instructional designers, the LMS administrators, and coordinate and organize things for them. In some roles, you can also see people who are instructional designers and learning project managers. If skills that are really helpful for a learning project manager is if you're good at managing multiple classes at a time. So think of an elementary school teacher. You got one group of students, but you're teaching them 5 different subjects in a day. You're balancing multiple classes and figuring out where in the curriculum should they be. Which students are excelling, which students need remediation. You're balancing. That is something that a learning project manager does. If you taught high school like I did, and you have 3 different preps, you teach US history, world history, and African American history, and you have to balance the curricula of all of them, you could be a learning project manager. If you work with low budgets, now, I don't know about y'all, I taught public school. And we didn't make a lot of money, nor were we given a lot of money. So teachers had to work with the tools that they were given. So you're used to working with low budgets, okay? You can work as a learning project manager. A lot of times your budgets will be bigger. Some places like nonprofits may have smaller budgets, but you can work with the budget. You can figure out where the gaps are. You can find free trials, or sometimes you can use your negotiating skills to get more bang for your buck. If you are good at keeping others on task. Now, I don't know a teacher in this world that hasn't had to keep students on task. So if you could easily help keep the instructional designers on task, make sure tasks get done according to a timeline. So again, if you're good at balancing multiple projects, multiple subject areas, maybe you're a teacher and you're a coach and you were on the admin team. That's balancing multiple projects. If you're good at creating timelines, hello, following the district level or state level curriculum, making sure you teach standards, that's following a timeline, balancing budgets. And again, collaborating with teammates. So if you were maybe a department chair, or you led professional development for your subject area across the district, you're collaborating with teammates. So you can easily bring that into learning project management by working with the instructional designers, the LMS administrator, the curriculum developers to make sure all parts of the project are implemented with success. So that's all I have for our major roles today. I definitely want you to connect with me here in AirMeet. All of this information should be available in my bio. Please feel free to visit my company's website, which is kscottlearning.com. Also, feel free to connect with me. Not just follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. That way you can see my content and we can learn from each other. And on LinkedIn, I am Kimberly Scott 05. And on Facebook, feel free to follow my business, which is K Scott Learning. Thank you so much. Luis, do we want to check the chat?
Okay. Wow, this is weird. Sorry, my video is not switching to my correct camera. Of course, I'm the one having problems. Okay. Hold
That's
on. Let me
okay.
try saving it one more time. No, that doesn't seem to be working. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Well, it's okay. You don't have to, no one has to see me right now. I'm looking to see if there are any questions in the chat area. Kim, that was wonderful. Like, you listed all of these different things. I mean, even I hadn't really ever broken that down before. And I think, like the way that, like, I think Rick was talking about, sometimes a lot of people are actually looking for that unicorn that kind of does almost, a lot of those things all at once, which can be really, really, really difficult. But I like the fact that you broke those out and that there are opportunities to be able to find roles in L&D that are separate from just a straight instructional designer.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of things um, teachers don't necessarily think about how their skill set transfers. And they think, oh, I need to go back and get another degree because they are educators. But a lot of times there are skill sets that you can utilize. Like I said, I stepped out of teaching and right into ed tech. And I know not all companies are like this, but sometimes you do have companies with instructional design or other fields like, well, teachers don't have the skill set for this. But in ed tech, you almost need to have teaching experience because you don't really understand what the teacher's pain points are, what their needs are, what the student needs are, unless you've been in the classroom.
What was the most difficult part of your transition from being a teacher into L&D?
I think the mindset change. I do think my transition probably was easier because I stayed within the same school district.
Mm.
And I stayed within K through 12. So it was a gradual move to corporate America and not a sudden move. So when I went from the classroom to the district level, I was at least within my comfort zone. I'd worked within schools within that district. I'd taken classes in the IT department where I was housed. So I was at least somewhat familiar, but I had to think big picture instead of just small classroom. There was no mode for us either. So I had to figure out what worked. So answering the teacher's pain points was a big thing. Sometimes the teachers weren't techie, but they wanted to be. So I solved that problem by going in and saying, hey, how about I co-teach with you? You teach the students the content. I'll teach them how to use the technology part. You'll watch that for one classroom and then we'll switch. The next class period, you teach them content and the technology, but I'll hang around and kind of assist you until you're confident. So yeah, kind of figuring out what worked within my district and just gradually switching. It was definitely a big switch with corporate America, with figuring out what was different there, what were their needs and their pain points. But I think a lot of it is mindset change. If I could go back and do it differently, I probably would have gotten a mentor and just talked to people that had done it and see if they could give me some of their tips and some of their tricks.
Right. Yeah. No, Raquel is mentioning that, thank you for saying this mindset has been the most difficult transition for her as well. Yeah, that is a really important point. Let me just take a look here. Yeah, I'm not seeing that there's any other QA, but I just love this. I This is even one that I think I would go back through and watch the recording, just because there's just some really really helpful information. And I do love how it's been divided out into these other roles within learning and development. And I've been in this space for almost 20 years, and I know that I've seen this particular industry just changed so much. I saw it even pre smartphone, like back in the early 2000s, and how that had a massive impact on everything. And now, some people are saying that moving into, the metaverse and all of that is going to change it again, like just different things. But, it is constantly sort of shifting and changing with technology and all these different things. So there are other levels of learning and development that could open up, and other parts of it that might start to sort of diminish as well. But this is an excellent breakdown. Kim, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh no, you're very welcome. If I had to give any other advice to teachers, I would I think it would be to start with one, what do you want to do and why do you want to leave? So let's make sure we're not leaving, um, we're not jumping from the frying pan into the fire, as my mother used to say. So you don't want to leave because certain conditions, and you might go to a job in corporate America and find out those conditions are still there. So let's honestly look at it. Also think about your skill set. As I've kind of said here, what do you possess outside of teaching? What kind of skill sets do you have that you could do in another job? And I think a lot of teachers think, well, all I can do is teach. But what I tried to illustrate a little bit here is that you have other skill sets. If you're good at writing and you enjoy writing, technical writing is a good thing. If you're that techie teacher and you're always doing something on a computer, you could go into LMS administration. You can go into ed tech. You Let's say you're a music teacher. You may want to work for a music company creating a K through 12, curriculum. There's just a lot that you can do, but don't think of it as I have teaching experience. Think about it at the skill level. Think about it at the knowledge level. There are a lot of teachers, let's say science teachers, that they may have lab experience and they don't realize it. And that may be something completely outside of L&D that they qualify for. But really start with, what is my skill set? What is my content knowledge area? And then what skill sets go into that? Also think about what you enjoy, because again, we wouldn't want anybody to jump from the frying pan into the fire. You want to think about, what would you enjoy doing? What would you like? What's the best fit for you? And then figure that out. Because I have heard of some people, transitioning into ID and spending a lot of time and then figuring out it wasn't for them. And I think they missed that first step, which was their skill and knowledge assessment, to figure out what they could do, what they're good at. Think about asking other people what you're good at, and then figuring out the best match from them and moving in that direction.
Nice. Is there now I have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
But what do you say about somebody, if would it how beneficial would it be to really like try to develop more than one skill set? Or and would it be a really are there any negative things about trying to do more than one or two things, or is that worthwhile to sort of chase after?
I think it can be. It depends on how it's done, because certain things are related skill sets. So, for instance, I do instructional design and I do LMS administration. They kind of work hand in hand, especially if the courses we're developing, like e-learning courses, are going to go into an LMS. Those are related fields. I know some people who do graphic design and instructional design. Those are related fields, because when you create the training materials, you want to make sure they're aesthetically pleasing and that they show the content visually in an easy to understand way. I think if they're totally unrelated skill sets, is where you can get into a headache, because you may have to network with two different big groups of people. You may have to upscale in totally different circles, which may be overwhelming. So if it's relatable, I think that's good. If it's totally separate, you might want to pick a path and then start that way first and then move on to the other path, or see, is there a way to integrate them together?
Right, right. And Lori is asking a good question here. Lori's been focusing on corporate training roles, and most of the L&D things that she's finding on LinkedIn are geared more towards instructional design. Are there specific resources for corporate trainers? Which is really interesting because I remember meeting corporate trainers that had no clue what instructional design was. And when I
Mhm.
started talking to them about it, they got really, really nervous.
Exactly. I don't know that there is. I don't know if ATD may have some resources that are specific to them. I know ATD sometimes has free ones, sometimes they may have paid ones. I'm not a member, so I can't speak to the validity of them. That may be one thing that you may check out. I will say this. This opportunity to speak here and this presentation topic has gotten me really excited. So it's kind of the catalyst to start some LinkedIn posts. I do want to post more about these things, talk more about these things, and see, like you said, what's out there. Are there resources to upscale educational technologists or corporate trainers? Are there networking groups for these individuals? Where can somebody find out more information, so again they can start seeing that there's more out there than L&D? Lori, I guess another resource that you can try networking and asking, who are corporate trainers, and then ask some corporate trainers, are there online PDs that you go to? Are there in-person professional developments that you go to? Where do you go when you want to learn more? Where do you go when you want to upscale? And kind of keep you some notes and see where these people are. I think when you network more, you may start to find with some of these niche groups that there may be things out there. It's just not highly publicized.
Right, right. And it's strange. The corporate trainers I feel like tend to come from almost like sales enablement backgrounds, or that business development, that type of thing. But the better ones that I've met have had experience in L&D, and so it's still really good to have like some working knowledge of instructional design. Let's see. Michelle has a question here. How to get an interview without the corporate experience? Are there specific companies or fields beyond ed tech that are more open to hiring transitioning teachers?
I think that there are. I think it's about marketing your skill set. So if you have more of a teacher resume, or you talk about everything in teacher terms, they may not be able to see the correlation. And you kind of have to sell yourself to them and show them, hey, I can do more than just teach. Because outside of K through 12, a lot of people imagine teachers, this is what they think. You work with kindergartners or first graders and you crawl on the carpet and help teach them how to color and eat snacks. And, I've had people tell me things like that. And I said, well, I taught 20-year-old high school students, and I taught them high level, sometimes AP courses, and I taught them almost college level courses, or sometimes I did teach dual enrollment courses. So everybody's not just teaching somebody how to color or just, stay in between the lines. So I think you have to really sell yourself to a company on how your skill set matches what their needs are. I also think, again, aim for roles where they're looking for skill sets that you had within the classroom, the training facilitations, the ed tech, and be able to show them some examples. One thing I loved about getting into L&D or instructional design is that there's a high emphasis on the portfolio. Um, but I think sometimes outside of instructional design, people don't think it's necessary. Well, I have pieces of my portfolio that have LMS administration. So, and it has gotten me clients, it has gotten me jobs because I was able to show them, look, in Moodle, look how I designed a course. It isn't just a white website with a black background. I visually designed this course where it was beautiful, content was well laid out, it aligned to the curriculum. So, being able to show them proof that you can do something besides create a lesson plan would be very, very helpful.
Let's see. And this question, well, I'm just curious, Kim, is there a particular skill set that you think is more or higher in demand than others within L&D?
Um, I'm not seeing a ton of LMS administrators. I know that. I actually started a Facebook group and it's called LMS Admin Support. And I started that group because there were all kind of groups for Moodle, Canvas, different platforms, but not one group where you could talk about all the platforms. I am seeing an uptick in people that need LMS administrators, or even they want an instructional designer who knows LMS administration, at least some of it, and that they're good at it, because a lot of LMS admins sometimes are IT people and they don't know anything about laying out a curriculum. They don't know anything about course development and what activities and instructional designer may need within the LMS. So I think that's a great opportunity. That's I'm seeing a lot more in demand. Also because a lot of people want online courses, and it's not just companies, but even individuals. I'm seeing people, for instance, this can be somebody who owns their own accounting business and now they want to sell accounting courses to people to show them how to do their own taxes. And so if you have LMS administration experience, you may help them set up their courses on Talent LMS or Teachable or some of those and help them get the content in there. So I definitely think that is something that's in great demand. Another thing is visual designers. I won't say that's a specific role that people always hire, but if you've got that eye for design, if you've had graphic design experience, if you have art experience, anything that leads you to make things visually pleasing, a lot of heck, I probably want to hire you because that's something I'm upscaling on. So a lot of people want to subcontract. A lot of people want to hire you because that visual aspect is a powerful aspect. So I think that's definitely a growth opportunity too.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen that with for UI, user interface or UX,
Mhm.
user experience sort of skills within L&D that can be very highly sought after. And so let's see, I had one more question in the QA area where Amber's wondering about a link to your presentation. Is that possible, or should they just come back to the recording to take a look?
Oh, no, absolutely. I'd be happy to share it. I will say, do follow me on LinkedIn because, like I said, this is kind of giving me some ideas beyond what I, can talk about in this 1 hour. So here soon, I do want to, share some information. So, for instance, within EdTech, there is a gentleman. His name escapes me for the moment, but on LinkedIn, he shares a lot of EdTech jobs. So I may post about EdTech skill sets you need to get into that, and I may share his information. I also may share some more expanded examples or some information from people who's transitioned over. So definitely do that because I'll share the presentation there. And I'll probably send a link in the chat to anyone who actually wants to see the presentation.
Great, great. And I will AirMeet has an option where I can have a resource page that I can share with everybody who's registered for the event. It's in beta, so they actually haven't activated it for me yet. I'm waiting. I just found out about it earlier this week. So hopefully by tomorrow it'll be there. And then like Kara North's presentation and anybody else that is interested in sharing whatever they have, I'll have it posted on that resource page. Let's see. And then Raquel, last question. Kim, you looking for any mentees? Do you mentor at all?
I do. It's really grown in the last 2 years. I have a lot of people reach out to me. They're usually I usually have Black or African American people or women. Those are usually the two groups because I'm African American and I'm a woman. So I usually have those two groups that reach out. Sure, I will just say I tell a lot of people my intentions are good, but my mind is bad. So if you reach out to me, I may forget. So if it's been a week, you may have to reach back out. I do ask that you kind of know what you're looking for because I have some people say, "Oh, can I set up a coffee chat?" You have to do it according to my availability, which is sometimes slim. Um, but when we talk, I don't think they necessarily know what it is they want to ask. So happy to, work with people, but think about what it is that you hope to get out of the conversation, what it is that you hope to ask. Is there anything that I might need to, take a look at beforehand that may help you? But certainly, if I can help you, if I can't, maybe I'll point you in a direction of somebody who can. So feel free to connect with me and reach out.
All right. Well, Kim, I just posted your LinkedIn URL in the chat. So, anybody that wants to connect, go there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close things out. But I want to remind everybody we have 3 more days of this. So tomorrow, if you want to come back at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, I've got Sarah Stevick coming, and she is absolutely amazing about helping teachers transition. She has an entire website and business associated with it. She's going to be starting out the day. We also have Matt Vosmick talking about L&D culture, and then Devin Torres talking about imposter syndrome. So tomorrow is going to be wonderful. Lots of virtual table discussions available as well. And with that, Kim, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. Really appreciate you sharing with the community.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.